Europe or in Britain, for example, if you say that you want a government that governs explicitly in the interests of the indigenous British population, you want one that is uncompromising in its commitment to British interests, you're called far right and you're called a racist and all the rest of it. And so I can't help but think that if
I have no idea what you're on about.
I think it's a sickening comparison.
Genuinely, I don't mean to be rude, Charlie. I have no idea what you're on about, pal.
What part of it do you not understand?
Do you not think, look,
These lefties couldn't grasp a word of what this young Conservative was saying. When they finally did, they were enraged by his comments. He was completely right in saying this government does not prioritise its own citizens. New immigrant families are appearing in my area every week. Families with 4 kids arriving yesterday and going straight into social housing, paid for by the taxpayers. All the while, we have people who have lived here all their lives who can't get social housing. Immigrants take priority. We know that. We see it with our own eyes. The Scottish politician disagrees and thinks the British state defends Britain. What planet is he on? This government hates this country. They act against British interests all the time. And if the Russians invaded tomorrow, some would defend it. But they would be defending the geographical area known as Britain, not the nation of Britain. They want to replace our culture and rewrite our history. They wouldn't even call it Britain if they got their way. They'd be defending some new multicultural place that has replaced the Union Jack with something like this as the new national flag. They'd probably have Arabic as the national language as well. Then he says he doesn't recognise a high street when he walks down it anymore. Again, they are shocked and can't grasp the issue. Nothing wrong with a bit of change, but in reality, England has been intentionally changed beyond all recognition. If I walk down the street and I can't tell if that street's in Bangladesh or not, that's not multiculturalism or diversity. That's colonisation, especially if that's in towns up and down the country. My old high school was around 97% local white English kids back in, say, 2005. We drove past it last week and all I saw were African kids, all speaking some form of African-style English. You can argue whether that's bad or good, but you can't argue it's not colonisation. And clearly, that level of immigration is putting massive strain on infrastructure and housing. I'm totally fine with immigration within reason, but completely replacing the original population in under 20 years? The lefties think that happening all over the country is just normal, but we know it's the globalist agenda at work. Anyway, take a watch.
So I think that
what should Israel be doing?
Well, this is the point. It's just interesting, isn't it? How Israel is the only state in the modern world that's considered Western that is permitted to be sort of explicitly nationalist. Because in Europe or in Britain, for example, if you say that you want a government that governs explicitly in the interests of the indigenous British population, you want one that is uncompromising in its commitment to British interests, you're called far right and you're called a racist and all the rest of it. And so I can't help but think that if
I have no idea what you're on about.
I think it's a sickening comparison.
Genuinely, I don't mean to be rude, Charlie. I have no idea what you're on about, pal.
What part of it do you not understand?
Do you not think, look, I'm not here to defend the British state by any means, but you try to tell me that, look here, a Conservative, and the double look there. I'm not here to defend the Tories or the Labour Party or Lib Dems or those who believe in the British state. But nobody can reasonably say to me that the members of Parliament in Westminster aren't interested in defending the territorial integrity and the values, whatever they are, of Britain. And I'm the Scottish nationalist sitting here telling you that. So that should maybe calm your jets a wee bit on that one.
Well, what do you base that assertion that the British state is interested in defending British interests on? Is it the fact that we've had millions of illegal migrants into the country? Is it the fact that we've had mass immigration for the better part of 30 years that has made it almost impossible for people my age to afford housing, where we feel so dispossessed of our own culture when we walk through our own high streets, we don't see our own country? What else is it? Is it the fact that British identity...
What do you see then?
What do I see where?
Well, when you're walking down the high street, you say, I don't see my own country. What do you see?
I see a country that has been so poorly governed for really as long as I've been alive, that it has been essentially the inheritance of the country that was built cultivated by my ancestors has been given away to anybody who who would come here, and the government has been the midwife to that project. And I think that it's
You
only
see
going
that
to
as
lead
you're
to
walking down the
destruction.
street. You have very strange eyesight, I would say.
Well, I don't know if you've been to a town like Swindon recently, Ian. but
Funnily,
it's stark.
fun enough, I
What
have.
did you think of it?
About 2 months ago.
Well, there we go. And what did you think when you were walking down the high street, when you saw the graffiti, the litter, the boarded up shops, and the...
That's austerity.
And you blame that
that's
on
just-
immigrants, do you?
That's just
I don't
council
blame it on
cuts.
immigrants. I blame it on the government, who has permitted this incredibly destructive policy of mass migration, which
You
has...
do blame it on immigrants.
No, there's a very different...
Well,
there's a
do.
real difference.
If
Ian,
you-
let me finish. There is a real difference between blaming immigrants and blaming immigration policy, because I'm blaming the government. Because I think the people who have come here over the last 30 years are just following incentives. Why wouldn't you want to come to Britain? It's the greatest country in the world. It's a land of opportunity, or at least it was. And so, but because of the lax approach of of the government for the last 30 years, they have essentially sold out that inheritance to all of the world.